Workplaces are supposed to be safe, right? A place where you clock in, do your thing, and head home at the end of the day. But sometimes things take a terrifying turn, and a regular day on the job becomes something straight out of a nightmare. In this video, we're diving into some of the most disturbing and downright chilling deaths that have ever happened at work. These stories are shocking, tragic, and a grim reminder that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places. It was a seemingly ordinary day on June 6, 2024, at the University of Chicago Comprehensive Cancer Center in Hyde Park, a construction project that symbolizes hope and progress. But for 27-year-old construction worker David O'Donnell, it would be his last day on Earth. Perched high above the ground on a scaffold, David was diligently working alongside Jeffrey Spurka, a seasoned ironworker. Neither man could have imagined the horror that was about to unfold. The project, overseen by Turner Construction and involving multiple contractors, had been running smoothly despite mounting tensions over safety concerns. Workers had warned about the scaffold's precarious attachment at the southwest corner, warnings that fell on deaf ears. Adding to the growing danger, Chicago's unpredictable weather took a menacing turn that morning. By midday, winds were gusting at over 40 miles per hour, but work continued. The scaffolding, towering over 100 feet above the ground, was tethered by a fragile piece of plywood, a makeshift bridge that would soon become a symbol of neglect. As the wind howled, witnesses below watched in horror as the scaffold began to sway violently. Panic rippled through the construction site, but for David and Jeffrey, there was no escape. Then it happened. A thunderous crack echoed as the plywood connection gave way and the scaffold began to collapse. David, without a harness or rope to anchor him, plummeted over 80 feet to the ground. Rescuers fought desperately to save him, but it was too late. David succumbed to his injuries. Jeffrey, though critically injured, miraculously survived, cushioned by a pile of PVC pipes that broke his fall. His survival came at a cost: severe brain and body injuries that would alter his life forever. The tragedy sent shockwaves through the construction industry. Questions swirled like the wind that day. Why were warnings ignored? Why was work allowed to continue in such hazardous conditions? Investigations by OSHA and other agencies uncovered a chilling truth: basic safety protocols had been overlooked. The plywood bridge, secured by a few flimsy nails, had been a ticking time bomb. The aftermath was a storm of lawsuits and shattered lives. David's grieving family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Turner Construction and Adjustable Forms Incorporated, citing gross negligence. Jeffrey Spurka, scarred physically and emotionally, sought justice through his own legal battle, determined to hold the responsible parties accountable. Both families fought not only for compensation but for something greater: change. Their lawsuits exposed glaring safety gaps and demanded accountability. David's death became a harrowing reminder of the human cost of cutting corners. Meanwhile, Jeffrey faced a long, grueling road to recovery, haunted by the trauma of that fateful day. As the construction industry watched closely, the case became a rallying cry for better safety standards. For David's family, justice meant ensuring no one else would suffer the same fate. For Jeffrey, it was about reclaiming his life and demanding a system that values lives over deadlines. This wasn't just an accident. It was a preventable tragedy, one that reminds us all of the fragility of life and the devastating consequences when safety is treated as optional. It was January 15, 2024, in the coal-rich town of Dart, Queensland. The Saraji South coal mine, a hub of ceaseless activity and roaring machinery, began its day like any other. For 27-year-old coal miner Luke O'Brien, this was just another shift. Known for his passion for mining and speedway racing, Luke had a zest for life that resonated with everyone who knew him. But this day would end in tragedy, leaving a permanent scar on his family, friends, and the entire mining community. The morning unfolded uneventfully until the unthinkable happened around midday. Luke, alongside a co-worker, was tasked with towing a stuck B-double fuel truck. It was a routine operation, one they had done countless times. But fate had other plans. Standing between the tray of a light utility vehicle, Ute, and the truck's bull bar, Luke was focused on his task, unaware that his life was seconds from ending. In a sudden, horrifying turn, the Ute rolled backward. The crushing force pinned Luke against the truck. Time seemed to stop as workers rushed to his aid, their shouts swallowed by the rumble of machinery. Emergency services were called, but the remote location meant they wouldn't arrive for over an hour. When paramedics finally reached the scene, Luke was rushed to Dart Hospital. Despite their best efforts, his injuries were catastrophic. By evening, the unthinkable became reality. Luke was gone. The news of his death rippled through the tight-knit mining community like a shockwave. Luke wasn't just a miner. He was a son, a friend, and a beloved member of the speedway racing world. His parents, Iet and Taryn O'Brien, were left shattered, their grief pouring out in heartfelt tributes. "Our hearts are broken," his mother wrote. His father, a longtime racer himself, shared the unimaginable pain of losing his youngest son. Friends and colleagues flooded social media with memories of a hard-working, spirited young man who lived life to the fullest. The tragedy didn't just leave a hole in the lives of those who knew Luke, it sent a chilling reminder of the inherent dangers in mining. Resources, Safety and Health, Queensland, RSHQ, launched an immediate investigation, joined by police and safety inspectors. Early findings pointed to procedural failures, fueling outrage within the industry. Questions loomed. Could this have been prevented? Were safety protocols ignored? Operations at the mine were halted, not only to investigate but to allow workers to process the loss of their colleague. Leaders across the industry voiced their sorrow, with Adam Lancy, BMA's asset president, emphasizing a renewed commitment to safety. Meanwhile, Queensland's Resources Minister, Scott Stewart, delivered a somber statement, calling the incident a heartbreaking reminder of mining's risks. Luke's story resonated far beyond the coalfields. The racing community at Mozart Gladstone Speedway remembered him as a fierce competitor and a humble soul who respected everyone he met. Friends like Glenn Payne recalled the joy he brought to their lives, while colleagues mourned the loss of a man who was more like family. This wasn't just an accident. It was a devastating loss that exposed the fragile line between routine and catastrophe. Luke's death serves as a wake-up call for the industry, sparking demands for stricter protocols and better oversight. His family and friends continue to fight for accountability, hoping to prevent another family from enduring the same pain. Luke O'Brien's legacy is a stark reminder of the risks workers face every day. Behind the machinery and progress are lives, irreplaceable, valuable, and deserving of protection. His story is one of heartbreak and resolve, ensuring his loss will not be in vain. It was August 15, 2017, in the heart of the dense Sirhowy forest near Kellen Fox, South Wales, a place where towering trees loomed like silent giants, holding secrets and dangers within their sprawling canopy. For 24-year-old Ben Thomas, it was supposed to be an ordinary day, albeit one he had volunteered for despite it being his day off. Ben was eager to prove himself in his new role as a forestry worker with Tree Finesse, a Pontypool-based company he had proudly joined just 4 months earlier. A former scaffolder, Ben had longed for a career that connected him with the great outdoors. After earning his forestry qualifications in January 2017, he couldn't wait to make his mark, and his enthusiasm for the work was contagious. That morning, as the team prepared for their routine tree-felling tasks, no one could have foreseen the grim twist that would follow. Ben arrived at the site, his face lit with determination. He was joined by colleagues Mark Whitehead and Elliot Wilmer, and together they tackled the job with precision and adherence to safety protocols, maintaining the mandated 50-meter distance while cutting trees. It was a rule meant to ensure their safety, but on this fateful day it would not be enough. As the hours ticked by, the rhythmic hum of chainsaws echoed through the forest. Around noon, Ben's voice cut through the noise. "I'm finished." It was a signal that his task was complete, a routine call his colleagues had heard countless times before. Mark and Elliot, focused on their own work, barely paused. Moments later, the sound of Ben's chainsaw fell silent. At first, the quiet seemed unremarkable, but as the minutes dragged on, an uneasy feeling crept in. Mark and Elliot removed their ear defenders and strained to listen. The faint idling of Ben's chainsaw reached their ears, a sound that should have meant he was fine, yet something felt wrong. They called out his name, but there was no answer. The unease turned to dread as they rushed toward the sound, weaving through the thick underbrush. What they found froze them in their tracks. Ben was pinned beneath a massive tree. The tree he had felled had caused a long-leaning sleeper tree to collapse, crashing down with devastating force. Mark and Elliot worked frantically, their chainsaws roaring as they tried to free their friend. But as precious seconds turned into agonizing minutes, it became clear their efforts were in vain. Ben's injuries were catastrophic. His body bore the unmistakable signs of trauma. Emergency services were called, but the forest's rugged terrain made the journey slow and treacherous. Paramedic Daniel Waits eventually arrived, but his grim expression confirmed what Mark and Elliot feared most. Ben was gone. The autopsy would later reveal the horrifying extent of his injuries: fractured ribs, lacerated lungs, and crushing asphyxiation. Tests confirmed he was sober and alert, a diligent worker caught in a tragic twist of fate. The accident sent shockwaves through the community and triggered investigations by Gwent Police and the Health and Safety Executive. At the inquest, Senior Coroner Caroline Saunders listened as colleagues, supervisors, and forestry experts painted a picture of a man dedicated to his craft. Mark Whitehead, Tree Finesse's manager, described Ben as a meticulous worker who had felled an astonishing 15,000 trees in his short tenure. But it was Elliot's testimony that struck the deepest chord. He recalled Ben's final words, "I'm finished," and the haunting realization that their desperate attempts to save him had come too late. Forestry expert Martin Lennon provided the chilling explanation. The sleeper tree, hidden from Ben's view, had been destabilized by his work, creating a deadly domino effect. It was a freak accident, an unseen danger lurking in the forest's shadows. After 4 days of deliberation, the jury ruled Ben's death accidental. The inquest cleared Tree Finesse of negligence, concluding that safety procedures had been followed to the letter. Yet the verdict offered little solace to those who had lost a friend, a son, a colleague. For those who knew Ben, his death was more than a tragic accident. It was a stark reminder of the unpredictable dangers faced by forestry workers every day. The forest, with all its natural beauty, had turned into a merciless killer. Ben's story echoes with the pain of loss, but also the resilience of those left behind. His name lives on, a symbol of dedication and the fragile balance between man and nature, a balance that, on one fateful day, tipped tragically out of favor. It was July 13th, 2023, near Revelstoke, British Columbia, where the air was thick with smoke and the summer sun seemed to burn brighter than ever. The wildfires ravaging the province had reached an alarming intensity, and on this day, 19-year-old Devon Gale, a fierce and determined firefighter with the BC Wildfire Service, would face the ultimate test of her strength and bravery. Devon, known for her unshakable kindness and unrelenting sense of duty, had spent the last 3 fire seasons on the front lines, clearing brush in remote, heavily wooded areas where fires could ignite with frightening speed. It was dangerous, grueling work, and it was work that Devon thrived in. Her colleagues and family remember her as a young woman who gave everything, her compassion, her heart, and her very soul, toward helping others. But on this scorching afternoon, as the relentless wildfires continued to spread across British Columbia, it would all come crashing down in the most unexpected way. This wildfire season had been unlike any other. Over 350 fires raged out of control, consuming more than 1.2 million hectares of forest. The heat was suffocating. The BC Wildfire Service was stretched to its limits, calling for 1,000 international firefighters to assist in the battle. Amidst the chaos, Devon, ever the volunteer, had once again answered the call. Her team had been tasked with clearing brush in a remote area, the kind of work that no one would willingly do unless they had Devon's courage. But this day, with the fire lurking in the distance and the oppressive heat bearing down on them, the forest seemed to hold a dark secret, waiting to reveal its deadly intent. Around 3:30 p.m., the phone rang at the Revelstoke RCMP. The frantic voice on the other end of the line reported a terrible accident. Devon had gone silent, lost contact with her team. As her colleagues rushed to the scene, the air seemed to thicken with dread. They found her trapped under a fallen tree, her body crushed beneath the weight of nature's fury. The seconds ticked away in those frantic moments as her team rushed to administer first aid and desperately attempted to airlift her to Queen Victoria Hospital. But despite their best efforts, it was too late. Devon had succumbed to her injuries, an unthinkable loss that sent shockwaves throughout the province. The news of her passing spread like wildfire, igniting a wave of grief from every corner of Canada. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and British Columbia Premier David Eby both expressed their sorrow, recognizing the bravery and sacrifice of Devon and all the firefighters who risked their lives each day. But it was Devon's family who felt the deepest ache, a void that could never be filled. Her brother Nolan, himself a firefighter, took to Instagram, his words heavy with grief. He spoke of his sister, her humility, her selflessness, her unwavering dedication to others. "She was the best person I knew," he said, his voice breaking with emotion. A sister, a firefighter, a hero. Devon's death, though rare among the brave souls who fight wildfires, was a stark reminder of the overwhelming risks these men and women face. Firefighters like Devon give everything for their communities, putting themselves in the line of danger every day, and sometimes even that isn't enough to survive. In the wake of her tragic death, investigations were launched by the BC Wildfire Service, WorkSafe BC, and the BC Coroner Service to understand the circumstances surrounding her passing. What happened? How could a life so full of promise be taken so soon? But amid the grief, the community stood tall in remembrance. A memorial was held in Revelstoke to honor Devon's life, and hundreds of mourners lined the streets, their hearts broken but their spirits strong. Members of the BC Wildfire Service, fire departments, and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police all paid their respects as the sound of solemn bagpipes filled the air. Her siblings Nolan and Kylan, both firefighters, stood before the crowd, their voices choked with emotion. Nolan spoke of Devon's enduring legacy, urging everyone to remember her for the incredible person she was, humble, kind, and brave. Kylan, struggling to hold back tears, urged those gathered to honor Devon's memory by laughing, by living, because that's how Devon would have wanted to be remembered. Her colleagues, too, shared their tributes. Stephen Hood, a fellow firefighter with the BC Wildfire Service, described Devon as an untamable spirit, full of life, beauty, and a passion for her work. Casey Robinson spoke of Devon's ability to make everyone feel like part of the team, ensuring that even the newest recruits felt supported and ready for the danger ahead. Born on November 24, 2003, in Langley, British Columbia, Devon was no stranger to physical challenges. She excelled in competitive swimming, skiing, and trampoline gymnastics, all of which shaped her into the fearless woman she became. But it was firefighting that captured her heart. She poured herself into protecting her community, channeling the energy of her athletic pursuits into the fight against nature's destructive forces. At the University of British Columbia, Okanagan, where Devon had been pursuing her dream of becoming a nurse, her loss was felt deeply. Leslie Cormack, the principal and deputy vice-chancellor, spoke on behalf of the entire campus, offering condolences to Devon's family and recognizing the profound impact her passing had on the university community. Devon's legacy, her commitment to both firefighting and nursing, was a testament to her boundless desire to make the world a better place. And though her life was tragically cut short, she will never be forgotten. On June 7, 2024, tragedy struck Disneyland in Anaheim, California. Bonnie Myaslow, a beloved employee with 24 years of service, tragically lost her life in an accident that shocked the Disneyland community to its core. Bonnie, 60, had spent her career at Club 33, the exclusive, iconic private dining club in New Orleans Square. On that fateful day, she was a passenger in a golf cart traveling through the backstage area near Critter Country. The cart, moving at about 20 miles per hour, hit an unexpected bump. Bonnie instinctively reached for the handrail to steady herself, but it failed, either loose or unable to withstand the sudden force. Without anything to hold on to, Bonnie was thrown from the moving cart, landing headfirst on the ground. The impact fractured her skull, causing severe brain swelling. Emergency responders rushed to the scene, stabilizing her and transporting her to the hospital. Despite doctors' best efforts, Bonnie was declared brain dead by the morning of June 9, 2024, and passed away the following day. The loss was felt deeply throughout the Disneyland resort. President Ken Potrock expressed his sorrow, offering support to Bonnie's family and colleagues. But in the wake of the tragedy, questions quickly arose about the circumstances of the accident. Bonnie's colleague, Ray Delgado, took to social media, demanding answers. She highlighted the failure of the handrail as a critical factor in Bonnie's fall, and called for better safety measures in the park. The incident raised serious concerns about Disneyland's safety practices. Was the golf cart properly maintained? Why did the handrail give way? Investigations focused on determining whether any mechanical or design flaws played a role. The Disneyland community, devastated by Bonnie's passing, was left searching for answers, determined to prevent such a tragedy from happening again. Bonnie had dedicated 24 years to making Disneyland a place of magic, and her death underscored the fragile balance between joy and danger that exists behind the scenes. Her legacy lives on, but her tragic death leaves the Disneyland family questioning how something so preventable could happen in the happiest place on Earth.